want to so we can pick up His want to. That way we aren't asking and not receiving, but we're asking and receive because we're not asking amiss. So I got to tell you, one of my greatest want tos that really doesn't reflect anything about my own personal works, but rather what Jesus has done into me, is that I want to see His church flourish. I want to see Christianity spread like a virus that people can't get away from. If you can take something bad and make it good, just give that quality to Christianity. Can I tell you, though, I'm afraid what's going to take in our nation is a great fail for that to happen, because we know we're human, and at our best we don't think we need any help, but at our worst we realize we can't do it alone. So He sends these letters to the churches. I got to tell you, if you read through all 7 of these letters, I think you'll find that these qualities are in every church. There are ones, there may even just be times that people exhibit the qualities of every one of these, but I got to tell you, I think the most dangerous ones found here in the church that is lukewarm. They're not really cold, and they're not really hot. Just kind of lukewarm. There was a guy that taught Sunday school at my home church named Ray Ketchum, smart in the Bible. He's with Jesus now, but I was the guy who delivered the coffee to his senior adult class. We'll put it that way. Because you guys get mad when I call you old folks. Okay, that's how it is, and that's okay. And Ray would always give me trouble about his coffee being cold. And I'm like, it just came out of the percolator. It's far from being cold. But he'd give me this. He'd take a cup of coffee and he'd make it cold. This coffee's cold. And so I thought I'd fix him one day. He goes, if the coffee wasn't too cold, then it was too sweet. Don't you like it when somebody gives you conditions? My coffee's cold. So I was back there fixing his coffee, and these words keep going through my ears. Cold. I'll fix him today. I got a little rottenness in me just every day. So I took his cup of coffee over to the microwave, and I run her until that coffee cup, that little styrofoam cup, almost caught fire. 2 minutes in the microwave will boil coffee in the cup, and it's already warm. And that stuff was so hot, I almost couldn't get it out. I moved the tray over by the microwave so I could get that out and sit there. And I thought, and then he's going to say, "Weak, Paul." So I went over to the percolator, took the lid off, took a spoon and got 3 spoonfuls of grounds, almost filled his cup to overflowing. I took that in there, and I had wrote his name on it so it wouldn't be mistaken. And he says, "That's good coffee." That's what he said. It's good coffee. I fixed his coffee like that for a long time. I don't think that's what done him, but can I just tell you, I think we might get that reaction from God sometimes, though. Think about the great thing that He has done for us. And I wouldn't expect, if you don't have children, that you would understand this, but He gave up His only Son to buy you in. He paid your debt that you could not possibly ever pay to spend eternity with Him by sacrificing His own Son. And we're higher for Him. It rings in my ears. It almost embarrasses my wife sometimes when we go somewhere. She's about to quit running around with me just over this one thing. I was in the dollar store yesterday evening. Girl working the counter. When you're talking with somebody at the dollar store that works there, they can't really get away from you. It's kind of like this. It's kind of sort of a captive audience. And so, a new girl, she had her name badge on, and I thought I could pronounce her name, and I was correct. And I said, "What? You new around here? Yeah, I go to NEO school, just started school. I said, well, that's good. Where are you from? Jay. I said, really? Jay's pretty close to here. You go home on weekends? No, I really don't have that kind of home life. She said, I'm talking with her. My wife is like, on my way to the car, but I ain't worried about that. I got a key. And so I said, well, you go to church? And she says, no, I used to, but my family kind of broke up, and I just really didn't have anybody. And so I said to her, well, listen, I'm a pastor down here at Southeast Baptist Church. It's a good church. If you go in there, the people will love you. And I've threatened some people here. You better love them when they come in. I said, you go in the door down there, and they'll love you. They'll welcome you in. And I got on the way to the car, caught up with my wife, and I said, you know, I don't think she's coming to church. She said, oh, well, she might. You never know. I said, no. She wasn't interested in what time it started. Our witness is kind of weak, kind of cold sometimes, because we'd rather walk off. We got our own agenda. We want to do our own thing, and that spits in the face of God, you see. We can't be our own. You can't put your want-tos up above His. Like John the Baptist said about Jesus when somebody asked him, he said, He must increase and I must decrease. Well, I want Paul to get so small when they look at me, maybe they just see Jesus. When I say something to somebody, I want it to be the words that have the grace of life in it. Jesus. He gives grace more abundant than what we could ever ask for. However, we know that there's a key to being lukewarm. Can I just tell you, if you want to be lukewarm, here's a key to it. You're destined to be vomit. There's a guy in the Bible we can look at that gives us a pretty good example. I love biblical examples. How about you? Can we go there? Is that okay today? I promise it won't take more than the rest of the day. I can put it in a bucket with no bottom if you're careful. Somebody back there in the back is writing that down right now, I'm afraid. There was a guy named Jonah. God told Jonah something to do. You know what? Jonah could have easier done what God said to do than what he did. He went and attached himself to a ship that was going the opposite way. Hello? Yeah. How many times do we do this? Maybe in a week. We attach ourselves to a ship that's going the opposite way of what we know God would want us to do. How about we just turn around and go back? What happened to Jonah? God caused a big storm to come, and it was just about to tear the boat up that Jonah was on. They pitched everything over. And then they threw Jonah over. And whew, you know what I believe about what the Bible says? God has such control over the things going on this earth that the top of that sea became like a sheet of glass. It was so scary. The moment they pitched him over. And everybody wants to call it Jonah and the whale, but the Bible says it's a big fish. I've been down here at Grand Lake and witnessed some of them gar. Have you ever seen a gar jump up out of the water that was like 4 or 5 foot long? You can tell where he was at for a minute or more. You see him way out in the middle if you're on the shore. That's how I saw him. But God caused a great fish, it says, come along and swallow old Jonah up. And then Jonah's next bad move was found on a seashore. Humans apparently aren't good fish bait. Jonah was lukewarm. Jonah knew God, but he denied what God asked him to do. So can I just ask you, if you find yourself in this position, turn around and go back and do what it is you're supposed to do. There's a lot of times whenever you're following the Lord, He will require you to undo the things you've done so that He can use you. It's called humbling. I hope you never experience being humbled under the mighty hand of God. But if you do, you'll come out the other side of it a better person. Because you'll be who He wants you to be. I want to be who He wants me to be. I want to be who He wants me to be, so much so that when I'm out in the world working or doing whatever it is that God may ask me to do, that people can realize that I'm not my own, I was bought of Christ, and that I bear the name of Christ on my eternity and my now. I believe these people were Seventh-day Christians. Don't you? These Laodiceans were Sunday people. Oh, we want to look good. We want to go to meeting. We'll ask for prayer. We'll even pray a really good prayer that everybody would enjoy hearing. Except that's not what God wants. When you go to God in prayer, He wants to hear your heart. I believe these people, well, I'll just tell you, on a scale of 1 to 10, you can figure it out. They were a perfect 5. Amen? Come on. And what's it get you to be a perfect 5? That's the middle of the road stuff there. I've always heard all my life that Baptists are front of the bus people, or the back of the church people, and the middle of the road guys. But you know what? We can't have it that way. Can't have it that way. He wants us to be all in for Him. There's a guy named E.D.L. Moody there for him. Somebody said to Moody one day in preaching, he said, it has yet to be seen with what God can do using a person that is fully devoted to Him. And Moody said at that point, he said, God willing, I'll be that person. But at the end of that life, you know, that Moody had, you know what he said? He said, we have yet to see what God can do with a person completely devoted to Him. He said he failed. But God has yet to see what can be done with a person completely devoted to Him. And I just tell you, God counsels us to get past our lukewarmness. He counsels us to be something. And by the way, I want to say, I don't think He really wants us to be cold. He don't want you a 0. How many of you like things that are cold? I like cold in the summertime and hot in the winter, but where I work, we have air conditioning and heating. It's just cold in the winter and hot in the summer. Are you with me? Amen. And I sweat terrible. I was here yesterday working for a couple of hours, and everybody that's with me said something to the fact that, wow, you're really broke sweat today. And I'm like, I do this every day. I have to drink half the water dry in our well dry before I can get rehydrated and go to bed. He don't want us to be a 0. He wants us to be on fire. At least, what he's saying is, at least if you were a 0, I'd have better cause to do away with you for an eternity. But you're ones who sit and say, I know the Lord Jesus. I trust Him with what I let Him have. I do what He says when it fits my schedule. So it's kind of like, I was at the sale barn one time waiting for some cattle that I had to sell. There was some guys there, and they run this calf in that really wasn't anything extraordinary. But he wasn't the worst thing in the world either. And I remember hearing these buyers behind me say, I just don't know what to do with a calf like that. I don't know what to do. Because I really can't improve on him much, because he's kind of already okay, and then he's really not the bottom of the barrel. I really... Did you see God trying to do that same thing? He said, oh, well, y'all are 5s. You're really not the worst in the world. You've got knowledge of me, and you say you trust me, but then you don't let me have it all. Can I just share with you something? If the Bible says that we are going to be involved in a marriage relationship with Jesus Christ as His church, we're going to be His bride. Do you not know that no marriage will work when the bride is not fully committed to the groom, and the groom is not fully committed to the bride? Won't work. When I go to marry a couple, I actually have wrote down what I say, and I begin on telling them, your marriage won't work unless it's under Jesus Christ, and both of you have already agreed to give 110% into this marriage and expecting nothing. It won't work. I tell you, that's all He wants of us, is all we are. He can't ask for more than you are. But He wants it all. He wants it all. He gives us a remedy. And the remedy is this. In verse 18 He says, I counsel you, buy for me gold that's refined in the fire, that you may be rich. You know what? We're not really rich in anything here, are we? How many of you have any possessions? Does any of y'all have a deed to the property where you live, your abode? You own your home. You can raise your hand. This is a Baptist church, but we ain't crucifying people for raising hands today, so you can raise your hand. You own your home, you have that deed. You know, I think I have the deed to my home too. However, I've been told if you quit paying taxes on that, see if you own it. You have the piece of paper, but you don't own it yet, do you? Heaven's a lot like that. If you belong to Jesus, you have the guarantee of heaven. But we haven't seen it yet, have we? We've been there. Haven't set foot there. You're not kicking up gold dust yet, are you? He says, if you think you're rich, purchase from me something that'll show you how rich you are. May I just say that He has shed the richness of His Son on Calvary. It was the gold of His blood and the silver of His tears, as He was crucified on a cruel cross that bought your pardon. Amen. So God says, come to me and buy this gold from me that's been refined in the fire, that you really will be rich. And He says, and get white garments from me, that you be clothed and your nakedness not be seen, that your shame would be gone away. Boy, if there's anything I want to be clothed with, at one time in my life I would have thought it was rank blue ones, and I like it. Gopher cowboy boots and brush popper shirt. That's what I was into. Because those brush popper shirts, if you had one that was the right kind of shirt, you could take it off, you didn't need a hanger, you just stand up. Nobody could tell how long you wore it. Because it wasn't like one of these shirts that's all loose. It was, that's custom. Stand up and you're out and you think it's all going to go the next time. Just the mind of teenagers. But you know what? I've learned how to be clothed with the fullness of Christ. I want to be clothed with the fullness of Christ, not of anything I've done of my own, but that He would cover my shame. And it says, anoint your eyes with eye salve that you may see. I like how He ends this. He says, anybody's got ears, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. I have a friend that told me, he said, if ears is all it takes, I want Mickey Mouse ears. You know, I want to get all of what God's for me. And I'm like, why wouldn't you want elephant ears? They're bigger than that. Anyway, that we'd have ears to hear, that we'd have eyes that we'd be, have our eyes open that we'd be able to see. And then I need you to know something. We've got it wrong, how we measure somebody's love toward us nowadays. Their love toward us is genuine, and we've done something wrong, they're going to be the first one to come alongside us and put their arm around our shoulder and say, you know, that wasn't quite right, and I want to help you to get to the point where it's right. Do you see that's what God's saying here in His Word? As many as I love, I rebuke and chasten. He wants to come along and scoot us back over on the right path. He wants to come along and convict our hearts that we be wanting to get right. And then he says this. This is the most used out of context verse, verse 20, maybe in the whole Bible. Every evangelist under the face of the sun, I believe, uses this. Know that they're talking to people that are lost, but God's talking to people that are halfway there. They're alive. They're not real good. They're not real bad. They kind of got their feet wet. That's all the point they ever wanted. Oh God, that we wouldn't be those people. This is what He says. Behold, I stand at the door and knock. You know what? I believe He's standing at the door of the heart today and knocking. And what I know about His knocking is He is a very proficient knocker. Okay? He's good at it. I've felt that knock on my heart's door before. Have you? Have you heard His knock? I remember hearing His knock when I first got saved. He called me to salvation. He said, "There's something up there you need." And I responded. Actually, I drugged my dad. I think he was still standing up. He said, "I knocked at the door." You know, the Bible says that you're not obedient to answer the door when He knocks. The next time He may not knock so loud. And then if you ignore Him again and push Him back again, the knocking gets much less. And He'll let you go your own way. It's part of having free will. But you know what? Your own way has a bad ending. The Bible says a man can think he's right, but in the end, his ways lead to death. So is God knocking at your heart's door? Have you pushed Him back? Maybe you let Him in once, and then you said, "God, I want you to reside in my life, but only in my broom closet." Maybe you told Him, "God, I need you in my life, but here's a good chair at my table. Just sit here and don't look at anything else because you're ashamed." You know what? He wants to do away with your shame. He wants to take your shame away. It says, "If anybody hears my voice and opens the door, I'll come in and dine with him and he with me." That's an old song. Anybody remember it? "Come and dine, the master calleth, come and dine. You can feast at Jesus' table all the time." And then it talks about some things he did. I wish I could remember the words. Somebody else did that. I don't want him to come in and dine, don't you? I don't want him to stand outside and knock. I get tickled by people afraid of my dogs. I got one dog that if you come up to her, she'll lick you half dead because she got teeth. And then her child is the kindest little dog that's ever been run over by a car at 60 and has front feet like this. I mean, he's the most deformedest dog, and Dakota loves him to death. He's a dog. His name's Doc. The dog, but he really looks mean when he goes up somebody's car. The hair on his mouth stands up. But you know, I can't tell you how many people come to my house and they pull up in front. You see them stick their head out their window and look around. Then they drive a circle and go back home. That really tickled me. I'm afraid to get out because of that dog. I caught one of them here yesterday. I said, "Were you leaving?" He said, "I was afraid of your dog." I said, "How many places do you go where you pull in their driveway and expect him to come to your truck?" Isn't that ludicrous? Jesus is coming all the way to your door and knocking. Don't leave him out there knocking. Don't make him wait. He says to him who overcomes. Those who overcome our own will. To those who overcome being lukewarm, being middle of the road, to being ones who are a 5. Don't be a perfect 5. To those who overcome, he says, I'll grant with them to sit with me. Oh, I would that there'd be a lot of people who made that choice to sit with me. Granted, so this morning I want to close this way. You've got to hear what the Spirit said to you. Respond. Come in here and hear the word. But if we don't make a choice to follow what it says, we might be leaving a perfect life. Don't leave a perfect life. Make that choice to trust in Him. Make that choice to do the work that He's called you to do. Make that choice to talk to somebody else about Jesus. You know what? I find that 90% of people that I meet want to talk about eternity. They want to talk about church. They want to hear about what God's Word says.